moments and be able to talk with you before we share another celebration just a little bit. And we have opportunity to baptize 2 believers today, and I'm very excited about that. And, you know, there's something about that opportunity that comes before us to share in these celebrations. And once we begin to see the importance of the celebrations that we have before us, we realize the importance of developing a pattern for discipleship. And that's what I want to share with you today. I've been entitling this Discipleship 101 because it really is about the fundamental principles of learning and developing a plan and a ministry according to God's purpose and plan, a ministry for discipling others. Now, you might be able to say that if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 6, and it begins to talk to us about how they had a plan of discipleship already in place in Deuteronomy chapter 6. And I'm just going to look at this real quick as we open this service today. But it begins by sharing with us in verse 5, and verse 3 through 5, it says, "Hear, O Israel, and be careful to obey, so that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, promised you." Now, there begins to develop this theme of sharing in the community. And, you know, there's an important part of the Old Testament that we need to take and apply for us today as well. And one of those things that we need to apply for us today is they took the aspect of community, fellowship, and worship very seriously. It said, and then in verse 4, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one." And so the people repeated together, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one." So we're going to repeat that together. So here we go. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one." And then here's what he says following. "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength." Does that sound familiar? That's interesting because that's the exact same thing that Jesus said to his disciples and to those who were listening to him. Do you think maybe somewhere along the line Jesus got this from the book of Deuteronomy?
Oh yeah.
Or do you think he just thought it up? I wonder what I should tell him.
Yeah, really.
You know, love the Lord your God is really important. But, you know, with everything, mind, heart, soul, and strength. Yeah, I tell him that. No, he heard this from the very beginning of his life. This was a fundamental principle that was taught in all of the synagogues and through the scriptures. So he says, "These commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts." You notice how it goes from just listening to now making an impression. It goes from listening to making an impression. You know, things that we hear about, we hear a lot of stuff. We hear a lot of stuff. But we don't act on everything. But I will tell you this, if something was close to your heart, you'd act on it. If there was something that was close to your heart, that was important to you, you'd act on it.
Preach it.
And so it goes from listening and just hearing about things to really putting it in your heart. Notice what the writer of Deuteronomy says. It says, "And this is to be upon your heart." It's to be inside you. You see, it's not enough to just come and hear about Jesus. Lots of people have come and heard about Jesus. Lots of people, ladies and gentlemen.
Amen.
Lots of people have come and gone. Right here from this church. There are some people who have come, heard the word. They heard it for a while, but they left. Some people hear it for a little bit longer. Jesus says it's like the seed that is sown. Some on the path, and the birds come by and swallow it up quickly. There are some where the seed is put into the rocky paths. It grows quickly and it establishes itself, but that has no root and foundation, and it withers up and dies. Others, they grow for a while, but the things of the world choke out the seed of the life that is growing. And others produce a harvest 30, 60, or 100-fold. Now, I don't know about you, but I never prayed, make me the 30-fold. I never prayed, God, let me be the 30-fold.
Amen.
I pray, Lord, make me the 100-fold.
Amen.
Let my life be a reflection of the 100-fold. You see, it can only be established in a heart. Lots of people come and hear about Jesus, but only those who take heart with Him are truly working and ministering towards a life of discipleship. Now notice he says in this particular passage, he says, impress them on your children. Now here's where true discipleship takes place. You see, true discipleship takes place when we duplicate ourselves. True discipleship is when we are duplicating our spiritual life and journey. We're actually teaching somebody else about Jesus Christ. That's why it's so important for our children to come to Sunday school. That's why it's so important for us to have women's Bible studies and men's Bible studies. That's why it's important for us to have Wednesday night prayer meetings. That's why it's important for us to go and visit people. Because what we're really doing is we're teaching about duplicating what's in our hearts. Now, when I say that, there are two things that we can take for that. First of all, we can take, if we have something in our heart that is negative and critical and is not the characteristic of Jesus, we will duplicate that. Let me tell you something today, ladies and gentlemen. Children are not prejudiced. Children are not biased, but parents are.
Amen.
Children learn to be prejudiced and biased because they learn it from us.
Amen.
Right here. My children do not like certain particular football teams. I will not tell you which ones. I do not want to start a riot in here. We'll just leave it at that. My children have learned to be biased or prejudiced against certain sports teams. Now that's all in fun. But how horrible it has been in our world and society when we have literally divided men and women simply because of our personal likes or dislikes that have nothing to do with the person whatsoever. We've already made their minds. Oh, that family over there comes from the other side of the tracks. They know they're no good. Their family was no good. Their grandpa no good. Their mom, brothers ain't no good. And they're probably no good either. We've already set them up.
Yeah.
Your brother was a rotten little rascal and you're probably just like him. And so the teacher already decides, I'm not going to like you and I'm going to pick on you. And I'm going to give you extra homework. And you look at me cross-eyed and I'm sending you to the principal's office and you're getting Saturday school. Am I right or am I right?
That's right.
That's not discipleship.
No.
I don't like registers.
Discipleship is when we duplicate a heart of love, joy, peace, understanding. We begin to develop characteristics that emulate Christ.